Psalm 107. It's going to take us a while to get through this. And I think it's taken us a while to get through anything that I've chosen. Okay. We talked about previously, this is, most of this psalm is a retelling of Jewish history. And I guess I would say the dark and difficult part of Jewish history is that they were, as a result of their disobedience, their stubbornness, because they disregarded God's law, His design, His commands, they wound up as prisoners, captives. And the psalmist uses lots of metaphorical language, where in verse 10, some sat in darkness and utter darkness, prisoners suffering in iron chains, because they rebelled against God's commands and despised the plans of the Most High. So He subjected them to bitter labor. They stumbled, and there was no one to help. We talked about that last time. In my experience, and this is my own personal life and in my counseling practice, when people feel they have no one to help, it's a desperate feeling. And frankly, for some people, at this point in our world, I think a lot of people, there is no one. It's not like they just feel alone. I mean, they really are alone. They have no one that they're on a deep enough level of relationship with to be able to call out to when their strongest, most negative feelings are holding them captive, or when actual circumstances get so bad and intolerable, they don't even have anybody to come alongside them. These are things that maybe can't be fixed, but to have someone travel with you through them can make all the difference. A lot of people have no one that can do that they're close enough to do that. And one of the reasons, I'm on this bunny trail, one of the reasons for that is we are afraid of the vulnerability that it takes to be on that level with someone else. We don't like to disclose our weaknesses. We only want to show our strengths and our capabilities. Well, you can't get on that level of depth in a relationship so that when there is no one else, there is that one or those two or three. You can't get there without exposing your failures, your weaknesses, and that is vulnerability. Most people don't like putting themselves in that vulnerable position. I'm one of those people. I don't like to spill my guts. There's only a few people I do that with, and the bottom line on that is I feel safe enough that when I share, when I expose my failings and my weaknesses, my that side of me, not in just general, oh yeah, I fail, I've got weaknesses. No, but when I get specific and I talk about these things and I call them by name, the only people I do that with is people I feel safe enough that they won't hurt me because of my weaknesses, and they won't expose my weaknesses to others unless I ask them to. All right. enough on that. Let's go back to the psalm. They cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and he saved them from their distress. There will come a time when it becomes obvious. We can't cloak it anymore. We can't deny it anymore. The truth is, we're not going to be able to we can't do this. And the most sensible thing to do is what the Israelites did in verse 13. They cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and he saved them from their distress. Okay, got to be honest here. Every time I've called out to God, he has heard me. I believe this. I trust it is truth. And most of the time, it seems like he delivered me. But there are times when, the thing I cried out about didn't just go away. I didn't just get this poof, everything was good. No, there are times when God delivers me from my distress over time, number one. And a big part of that has to do with, in my life, has had to do with God giving me wisdom to see my distress for what it is and to hold it in context of my larger life. There are times when my distress, in this moment, it overwhelms my rational thought. It overwhelms my ability to see a bigger picture than this moment. And, I'm 70 years old now, actually 70 and a half, but let's say I've got 3 months of distress out of 70 years. I don't do math, but my guess is that's a pretty small percentage of my life. When I see it that way, does it make the distress go away? Doesn't always. Sometimes it does. But there are times when even me changing my perspective, the distress continues. What is different then is my sense of who I am and the greater context of my life sets me up to be able to respond to the distress instead of just reacting to it. And that is a deep, deep subject that I'm not going to go deeply into, just to say, look in your own life. When you have reacted, how'd that work out for you compared to responding? Okay. But the Lord, he heard the cries of Israel, and he saved them from their distress. Well, a little point of application today. I hope that you're in a season of your life, or at least that today, things are going really well for you. You're not in distress. I hope that's true. More realistically, there's probably some measure of distress in most of our lives. One of the things that we don't often enough do when we're in distress is to become more specific in identifying what is the distress. A lot of times I just want to say to God, I just feel so blah, blah. Now, I have this promise that when I get that way, I don't have words for it. The Holy Spirit, as my comforter, guide, counselor, instructor, friend, he takes all of that and articulates it to God. I'm very grateful for this. And then there is the value of me identifying what my distress is about. I feel X. Fill in the blank. What do you really feel? Because distress actually is an emotion. I feel distressed. I am distressed, and that's in an emotional sense. So distressed is like the big bucket. So what are the things in that bucket for you? Okay. Now, second thing, and maybe even more significant and important, is call out to God. Cry out to Him. There's a little bit of a significant and subtle difference between calling out to God and crying out to God. When I cry out to God, this represents, it is about a deep, deep kind of emotion and feeling. I cry out. Now, to call out is, hey, God, right? You just raise the volume. That's not what they did. They cried to the Lord. It's okay. It's okay to cry to the Lord. And sometimes that cry is going to involve just spewing.
Someone is at the front door.
So when that happens, I take great comfort in the fact, knowing that God, He's okay with that. When I'm really mad at Him, He's okay with that. He's big enough to handle that. I don't want to stay mad at Him because, well, first of all, I'm not going to affect Him by being mad at Him, right? He doesn't change. When I remain angry with God, all that affects me, not Him. I'm literally robbing myself of life when I hold on to that anger. But to get rid of it, I have to cry out to Him. I can't think of a time I haven't had to cry out to Him in that situation. Cry out to God. It's okay. And then in Hebrew history, when they cried out to the Lord, He saved them from their distress. I don't know how He's going to do it. There are times when it just, boom, there it is. He answers that prayer. And the reason for my distress goes away. But there are many more times in my life's experience where it takes a while. And it requires me to be patient and to persevere. Maybe you're in a season of distress today. Cry out to God. He hears you. It's hard to believe this in the moment of distress when it's so overwhelming, but He really will deliver us. I can't say how, and I can't say when, and we're not rubbing the genie's bottle to get what we want. No, that's not what this is about. But it is about a faithful God who wants us to cry out to Him. So, all right. See you next time on Soul Care with Stevie Boy.